You said the pop-up, right?
He said it popped up, exactly.
So you apply on this pop-up. What happens next?
All I did on the pop-up, all I did was click, put me on pause. So I'm inside the Peace Corps website. You know, I'll wait for 72 hours before, and I'll give someone a chance to call me. About 24 hours later, I get a phone call. And the phone call is to an old school flip phone, if you remember those old flip phones.
Yeah.
And all it says is 703. I don't know what 703 is, but it doesn't say blocked. It doesn't say unlisted. It doesn't say the full number. It just says 703. So I pick it up. On the other end of the line is some nice person, a lady, who basically says, hey, are you Andrew Bustamante? Did you apply for this position? And, you know, I said yes to all those things. She was like, hey, it seems like you might be a good fit for a role in national security. Would that be something that interests you? And then we have a very short conversation that basically just verifies I am who I said I was online, and that I would be interested in national security position. They don't say who or who with.
Did you ask?
I did. I said, who is it with? And she said, we're not in a position to disclose that right now. But she did say, we would like to interview in person in Washington, D.C. Would you be amenable to that? And again, 27-year-old single male. Everything she asked me was yes. Right? Yeah,
I'm down.
I'll do it. Let's go. So then she said, well, we're going to send you a ticket and a rental car reservation, a hotel reservation. It'll be at your house overnight, and then just follow those instructions, and we'll see you in D.C.
To Virginia. Oh, D.C. Gotcha.
Yeah. So for me, I'm in Montana at the time, and I think to myself, never going to happen. Nothing's going to show up. That was just a weird crank, like whatever. People are just stupid.
You
talk.
legitimately didn't think it was a real thing.
Because I was a nuclear missile officer for the Air Force too. So this just seemed to me like this could have been anything.
And
could have been.
there's not a lot of people
Yeah, exactly.
say that I'm a nuclear missile officer
right.
in the Air Force.
Come on, guys.
Your
I'm just
boy
a little
Vinny is.
old
Who?
nuclear missile.
Vinny did the same thing.
He was a nuclear officer in the Air Force.
I don't think he's as qualified as Andrew.
No, but wait a minute. Vinny was a nuclear officer in the Air Force.
Vincent Oshana, the same guy who dresses up as Alfonso Ramirez and raids Nancy Pelosi's office, was a former nuclear missile officer
In the Air Force.
in the Air Force.
We're going to have to verify that.
We're a cool bunch of crazies.
That's true.
Okay, so you're in Montana. They send the car. You're thinking there's no way. There's someone's trying to pull a prank on you.
And then I get an overnight package that has everything she said it would have, with a physical paper ticket that has me in D.C. like 2 months later. And I go. And I go and I follow everything.
The recruiting process.
The recruiting process kicks off. Now, for most people, that recruiting process is somewhere between 9 and 18 months because it takes so long for the security clearance to come through. I already had the clearance. So my interview process happened in about 6 months. Not because I was smart, but just because the majority of the work was done. They had my whole military background. They knew that I was a Chinese speaker. They knew I had nuclear missile knowledge, and they knew that I was. Now
let me ask you. You say that because I'm not smart. Are you?
Right.
You know how sometimes we're kind of like, well, I'm not the smartest guy. You know,
Exactly.
And we're kind of playing that I'm not that smart to not be a threat because we want to be not a threat, and you're naturally trying.
I gotta
You
stop
mentioned I'm
teaching
not
you.
smart multiple times. I'm thinking, yeah, this Air Force nuclear scientist over here, not that smart.
Yeah, but no, but a part of that is for me. I don't know if I want CIA to not recruit smart people like you. I don't want them to go recruit like just anybody off the street. So, you know, there's a when I worked at Morgan Stanley Dean Witter, we went through a bunch of interview process. Of course, nothing like it. In military, you didn't go through interview process. I was a Hummer mechanic, so you don't become a Hummer mechanic needing a process. Just here's a wrench, go, right? But when I did go through Morgan Stanley Dean Witter, it was like one interview, two interview. You're not accustomed to that many interviews, and you're taking test after test after test after test after test. What were some of the tests you took with them? Was it more mental? Nah, I'm assuming none of it was probably physical, because if you're coming from Air Force, they already know you're somewhat taking care of yourself. What were some of the tests you went through?
Yeah, so it's a psychological battery. It's a psychological battery almost exclusively. So I had a 2.4 GPA coming out of college, which is well below what they say you have to apply to CIA. They say you have to have a minimum of 3.5. And then I went on and got a graduate degree at University of South Florida. And I did well in my graduate studies, mainly because I wanted to prove to myself that I was smarter than I was in college. I was just chasing tail in college, and we all suck grade-wise when you spend late nights on benders and tail. Mm-hmm. But the application process for CIA looks like personal interviews, where they're basically pressure testing your ability to work under fire and be flexible with the situation. And then they pair that with psychological interviews. Some of those psychological interviews, or some of those psychological tests, test your personality. Others test your cognitive reasoning. Other ones actually quantify your ability to take disparate information and then combine it into something useful. So I did well. I must have done well enough in those tests to be moved forward. But I didn't expect at any point to actually make it to the next round. Because in the back of my head, I'm thinking, like, I barely graduated college. Yeah, granted, I went to a nice college. I went to a challenging college, but I still didn't get great grades. And I wasn't a 4.0 student in high school. I am the model get distracted by things fun in life kind of person. Just turns out, after I got in, that is exactly what CIA is looking for. The undercover element of CIA, the Directorate of Operations, the National Clandestine Service, the people whose job it is to go out there, meet and recruit as sources and spies, those people need to be flexible, social, and up for the next big adventure.
Interesting.
Your analysts, your scientists, your tech wizards, you need those people are super smart and borderline Asperger's. They don't always want to go outside. They don't want to deal with people. Hardcore introverts
Great point.
that do a different job.
That totally makes sense. So it makes sense where it is almost the non-threat as well. It's a form of a non-threat based on how you're explaining it.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.